11 oil filters sit cut open on the bench in front of me, each one sliced lengthwise with a bandsaw, the pleated media fanned out like the pages of a small paperback book. 4 of them came out of the same fleet vehicle at staggered intervals, the rest pulled fresh from the box for a direct comparison. 2 of them tell a story I wasn't expecting. One has media that collapsed inward on itself, the pleats folded over and packed tight against the center tube like a wet napkin pressed against glass. Another has a thin, glittering line of metal flakes embedded right at the inlet side of the pleats, fine enough to look like pencil shavings under the magnifier. 2 others have pleats still standing crisp and uniform, evenly spaced, the synthetic media holding its shape even after thousands of miles of hot oil pushing through it. And one, the worst of the bunch, shows a hairline leak track where the can's seam separated under high temperature testing. That's what we're looking at today. Most drivers grab whatever oil filter is on sale at the parts counter, screw it on, and forget about it for another 5,000 or 7,000 miles. The thinking goes that a filter is a filter, that the API and SAE certifications on the box mean they all perform the same, that paying extra for a name brand is just marketing. And in fairness, every filter in this comparison technically passes the baseline standards. They all meet SAE J806 burst pressure requirements. They all carry ISO 45, 48, 12 efficiency ratings, and none of them are going to grenade your engine the moment you drive off the lot. That's the floor. The problem is the ceiling, and the gap between those 2 points is wider than most people realize once you start cutting these things open. The oil filter is the only thing standing between abrasive contamination and the bearings, cam lobes, and timing components inside your engine. Every drop of oil that lubricates your crank journals passes through that filter first. When the media is doing its job, it captures particles down to around 20 microns or smaller depending on the rating. And it does it while flowing enough oil under cold start pressure to keep the bypass valve closed. When the media fails, when the pleats collapse or the glue lines separate, or the bypass spring weakens, that contamination goes right back into circulation. And in our cut-open inspection of high-mileage filters, the difference between a healthy unit and a compromised one isn't always visible from the outside. The can looks identical. The threads spin on the same. You'd never know unless you cut it apart. Here's what we ran. 11 filters under $15 at the time of testing: Fram Ultra Synthetic, Mobil 1 Extended Performance, Wix XP, Bosch Distance Plus, Royal Purple, Pure Later Boss, K and NHP, Toyota OEM, Honda OEM, AC Delco Pro, and a budget Fram Extra Guard pulled from the same shelf. We added an unbranded discount bin filter from a closeout pile. For context, the kind with a faded sticker and no real lot number. Each one ran for a 5,000-mile interval in a controlled test vehicle, then got pulled, drained, and sectioned for cut-apart inspection. Hot flow rate was measured on a lab bench using calibrated oil at operating temperature, and a sample of filtered oil from each unit went through ICP analysis to read out the wear, metals, and contamination signature that made it past the media. The lab partner handling the ICP work runs the same tests for commercial fleet operators, so the methodology lines up with what large operators use to validate filter choice across hundreds of vehicles. Now, let me explain how the filter media actually works, because once you see it, the rankings make sense. Think of a coffee filter for a moment. A flat drip filter, the cheap white paper kind, sits in the basket and lets water pass through fast, but doesn't hold back fine sediment all that well. You'll see grit at the bottom of the pot. A cone filter, thicker and folded with more surface area, catches more of the fine stuff but slows the flow down. A reusable metal mesh cloth has high flow but lets the smallest particles slip right through. Now imagine you're running hot oil instead of water at pressures between 40 and 80 psi. And the filter has to handle this for thousands of miles without tearing, collapsing, or letting the bypass open and dump unfiltered oil straight to the bearings. That's the engineering problem. The media has to be dense enough to catch the bad stuff but porous enough to flow. And it has to hold that structure under heat cycles that would melt a paper coffee filter into pulp in seconds. The top-tier filters use synthetic blend or full synthetic media, often with a wire backing layer to hold the pleats rigid. The Fram Ultra Synthetic, Mobil 1, Wix XP, and Pure Later Boss all run full synthetic or high blend media with the wire backing visible when you peel back the end cap. The pleats stay vertical, evenly spaced. The glue beads at the top and bottom show full contact with no skips. Toyota and Honda OEM units use a denser cellulose blend that's tuned specifically for the OCI those manufacturers recommend, and they hold up well within that window. The Bosch Distance Plus and Royal Purple sit in similar territory with synthetic blend media, and the K and NHP is a different animal, designed for higher flow with a slightly looser media weave, which makes sense for its intended application. Then you get to the bypass valve and the anti-drainback valve, which is where the cheap filters start to show their weakness. The bypass valve is a spring-loaded relief that opens when the filter clogs or when cold oil can't push through the media fast enough. It's a safety mechanism, but it's also a quality tell. A well-designed bypass uses a calibrated spring with a specific opening pressure, usually somewhere between 8 and 20 psi of differential. On a budget filter, that spring is often weaker, slower to seat, and inconsistent batch to batch. Imagine a vacuum cleaner bag that tears under load. The moment it splits, all the dust goes straight into the motor. A weak bypass does something similar. It opens too easily or stays cracked open under hot oil flow, letting unfiltered contamination cycle through the engine, even when the filter media is technically still capable of doing its job. The anti-drainback valve is the rubber flap at the inlet holes that keeps oil from draining out of the filter when the engine shuts off. On a horizontally mounted filter, this is critical. A good silicone anti-drainback stays flexible across thousands of heat cycles. A cheap nitrile one hardens, cracks, and starts letting oil drain back into the pan. That means longer dry start times, more wear on cold start, and more contamination making it past the media in those first few seconds before pressure builds. The Toyota and Honda OEM filters use silicone here, as do all the top-tier aftermarket units. The budget filters in our test used nitrile, and the discount bin No Name had what looked like a generic black rubber flap with no clear material spec. Now to the cut-apart evidence, which is where the rankings come from. The Fram Ultra Synthetic showed clean, uniform pleats after 5,000 miles, with synthetic media holding shape and the silicone anti-drainback still pliable. The Mobil 1 Extended Performance looked nearly identical in construction, with maybe a slightly tighter pleat spacing. Wix, XP, Pure Later Boss, and Bosch Distance Plus all came out in similar condition. Clean media, intact glue lines, healthy bypass springs. The Toyota and Honda OEM units were textbook, no surprise there. AC Delco Pro and Royal Purple sat in the upper middle tier, perfectly serviceable. K and NHP showed the expected high flow trade-off, with looser pleats but no failure mode. Then the budget Fram ExtraGuard. The pleats showed visible collapse on the inlet side, 3 or 4 of them folded in toward the center tube, the cellulose media looking saturated and limp. The glue bead at the top end cap had a skip about a 1/4 inch long where the media wasn't fully sealed. And when we pressure tested the bypass spring, it opened at roughly half the differential of the ultra-synthetic version, meaning it would crack open under conditions where a better filter would stay closed and continue filtering. This isn't a defect in the sense that the filter failed catastrophically. It's a design and material choice that puts it well below the top tier, and over 150,000 mile service life with regular intervals that gap compounds. The lab partner's ICP analysis on the filtered oil from this unit showed elevated iron and aluminum readings compared to the synthetic media filters, which lines up with what the cut-apart suggested. The discount bin No Name was worse in a different way. The media itself wasn't terrible, but during the high-temperature flow test, the can seam, where the steel shell crimps to the base plate, developed a slow weep. Under hot oil pressure, a thin film of oil tracked along the seam line and pooled at the bottom of the unit. That's a fail point that has nothing to do with filtration efficiency and everything to do with manufacturing tolerance. A seam leak on a running engine means oil loss, low pressure warnings, and in a worst case, a sudden drop that starves the bearings. This may not represent every production batch of this filter, and unbranded close-out inventory is hard to track for consistency. But it's exactly the reason a known name filter, even one of the cheaper ones with full warranty backing, is the safer bet. You'll hear it in shop bays and forum threads constantly. All filters meet the API and SAE standards, so they're all the same. And that view deserves a fair hearing, because it's not wrong at the floor level. Every filter on this list will keep your engine running for a 5,000 mile interval without grenading it. The certifications exist for a reason, and they do filter out the truly dangerous products from the market. If you bought any filter with a recognized brand and a current part number from a legitimate retailer, you're not driving around with a ticking time bomb. That's true. What the standards don't measure is the variance between a filter that just clears the bar and one that runs 3 or 4 times above it. SAE J806 sets a minimum burst pressure. ISO 4548-12 sets an efficiency baseline at a specific micron rating. Both standards have pass-fail thresholds, not relative scoring. A filter that captures 95% of 20 micron particles passes. A filter that captures 99.5% of 15 micron particles also passes. They're not the same product, but they wear the same certification badges. And in our cut open inspection, the difference between those two units shows up clearly. The pressure rating across the 11 filters we tested varied by nearly 40% at the burst test, even though they all carried the same certification. That's the variance the spec sheet hides. So how do you actually choose? The honest answer is that it depends on the engine and the interval. And this is where I want to break it down into the situations most drivers are actually in. If you're running a modern turbocharged engine on a 7,500 mile or longer oil change interval, you want a top-tier full synthetic media without question. Turbocharged engines run hotter, generate more soot and combustion byproducts, and put more shear stress on the oil. Stretching the interval out to 7,500 Thallard miles or beyond means the filter has to hold its structure and efficiency for longer under harder conditions. The Fram Ultrasynthetic, Mobil 1 Extended Performance, Wix XP, and Pure Later Boss are all reasonable picks in this scenario. The OEM filter from your manufacturer is also a safe call if it's rated for the extended interval. Skip the budget tier here entirely. The cost difference over the life of the engine is rounding error compared to a bearing replacement. If you're running an older naturally aspirated engine on a 5,000 mile interval with conventional or synthetic blend oil, the picture loosens up. A mid-tier OEM equivalent filter is genuinely fine for this application. Toyota OEM, Honda OEM, AC Delco Pro, Bosch Distance Plus, Royal Purple, any of these gives you adequate filtration with media that holds up well within a 5,000 mile window. You don't need to chase the top-shelf synthetic if your engine and your interval aren't pushing the filter to its limits. The case I'd avoid is the budget bin filter on a direct injection engine, turbocharged or not. Direct injection engines tend to run higher in cylinder pressures and produce more fuel dilution and soot in the oil. The cheap filters with collapsed media and weak bypass valves can't handle that contamination load reliably across a full interval. Spending an extra $5 or $6 on a no-name filter is the cheapest insurance you can buy on that platform. And the unbranded discount bin units, regardless of what engine they're going on, I'd skip those entirely. The seam leak we saw under hot flow testing isn't something you want to discover the hard way at highway speed. I want to hear from the drivers watching. What filter are you running and on what engine? Have you ever cut one open after pulling it off? And if you did, what did the pleats look like? Drop the brand, the part number, the mileage interval, and what kind of engine it's protecting in the comments below. The more data points we collect, the better the picture gets for everyone else trying to make this call. If this teardown helped clarify what's actually happening inside that can on the side of your engine, hit subscribe so the next round of testing lands in your feed when it drops.